Hello, everyone. Hope all of you are doing fine. We would love to see each one of you smile every single day. Not only you smile alone, make others smile around you, no matter which gender you belong to. It's your duty to keep yourself happy and make others happy as well. And when you are not happy around the people who you love, that becomes a great problem, right? We've had several cases of different people having different issues in their lives. We mostly speak about women suffering from domestic violence. And very rarely men come out to express what they are enduring or what they've endured in their lifetime as a partner. So today we are going to discuss on a very important issue. Today we're going to discuss on a very important issue, that is mental health for men. We take mental health for men, we take it for granted. We don't think that men suffer too. We only speak about women. As far as I've seen, being a woman myself, I've mostly seen myself and the people around me focusing mostly on women's mental health or the issues or the problems of women. But today I'd like to be, on that platform to understand the pain and suffering of men. What do they suffer? What do they undergo? And when somebody is ready to express that, that becomes a great source of inspiration for many other men to come out from the closet or come out into the open and share their experiences. Today we have a very brave warrior who's here with us. He's a survivor. He's been suffering from domestic abuse and he survived it, and he's here today to share his journey. He's not only a great human being, he's a wonderful author. He's a great author and a speaker as well. He has taken out time to transform the lives of other people, irrespective of gender. He is putting out the message: treat one another with love, respect, and dignity. And particularly for all those men who are quietly and silently bearing up all the abuse heaped on them by their partner. So today, it's time to welcome our celebrity guest. He is none other than Mr. Jared Whitaker, joining us all the way from United Kingdom. So let's welcome sir and have a wonderful time and a learning experience creating awareness on the International Fab Talks. Hello, sir, and welcome to the session. Thank you so much, Jared, for being here with us.
So very welcome, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jared. Thank you for taking out the time. And I'm really proud of you that you're so strong in your thoughts and beliefs that you feel it necessary to open up and share it with others. You're a great author. You've penned your thoughts, your experiences. You've given many live sessions on different platforms, on different podcasts as well, online and offline, creating awareness around the world. Hats off to you. And I would love the Indian men to come out and emerge victorious, not to commit suicides no matter what happens. You should never commit suicide. Suicide is not the solution. You should be strong and brave like a warrior, like none other than Jared Whitaker. We'll get to know more about his journey and understand what is domestic violence from his point of view. What did he endure? Let's be open today and get to know about it. So, dear Jared, sir, I'd love to ask you this question. What is domestic violence? How did you feel trapped in that space where you felt, no, this is not right. This is some type of abuse. And I have endured it for a certain time. I'm not going to endure it anymore. So what is domestic abuse or domestic violence according to you, Jared? Over to you.
Yep, brilliant. It's a good question. So I think of domestic abuse and domestic violence as two separate things. So I think of domestic violence as the physical side of domestic abuse. So when someone's hitting you, pushing you, hurting you physically. So with domestic abuse, what I endured and what a lot of people, and particularly a lot of men endured, was mental abuse, psychological abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, where your money is getting spent and you've got no control of your own money. I'll go into detail, but then also physical abuse. So I was physically abused. I mean, for me, it was easy to understand towards the end when I got out of the relationship because I was being kicked, hit, attacked. Knives were being used, weapons, things like that. So it was very, very physical abuse as well as mental, emotional, psychological, financial, all of those kind of things. And what's interesting that I like to tell people with the work I do is I'm very big. I'm 6'2". I weigh 120 something kilograms. I do strongman, competing in the like strength events. So people often say, but how can a big guy like you get abused physically by someone? but it's not about your size or your gender, because abuse is all about control, and it's all about having control over another human being and being able to treat them how you want, so that they take it, because you break down their self-esteem and their confidence so much that they don't value themselves or see themselves as much. And I think for men and for me, it was a case of you almost become embarrassed that you think you shouldn't be abused as a man, that you should be able to stop it, that people are going to laugh at you if you tell them. And very much, here in the UK, the laws are very sided towards women. So, men feel like they can't come forward and say things. Say like, "Oh, I'm being abused," because if your female partner turns around and says, "No, it's not, I didn't do that, he did it," they'll believe her even if there's evidence. So it's very difficult. For me, I was in a very, very bad place. It went on for a long time, 10 years, um, and I was very, very low. And I mean, you mentioned suicide at the beginning. I was thinking about it. And it was hard. It was very difficult to get away, and it's not easy to leave an abusive relationship. It takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of time and commitment to get away from one. But it is possible, and you can do it, and you can rebuild your life, and you can be in a much, much, much better place than you were.
Jared, you've really spoken something very true. It's really very, very difficult to get out of an abusive relationship. Easier said than done. Many will say it's easy, like, you can just walk out or file a case, or you can do that. But it's really very difficult to come out of an abusive relationship. And as you mentioned, the type of control they have over their victims, right?
Yep.
I really understand that. Like, I get to understand that. So, dear friends, have you seen, like, there's no gender. It's neutral when people take advantage of their spouse. So that
Yep.
really has to stop. If you really don't like your partner, or you want to go on further with somebody else, or you have another partner in your life, or live the way you want to live, just let go. That's what I feel. You cannot harass or take advantage of someone who's been very soft to you, adjusting, accommodating, right? You should not take
Yep.
advantage of one's kindness. And Jared, what I've seen is, Jared, like, the more kind you are, the more you are disrespected. Do you agree with that? How would you like to define it from your end and your experiences?
Yeah, and I think that goes for all abusive relationships, because an abuser, whether they're a full-blown narcissist or not, um, will push you, and they'll push the limits and the boundaries. And if you're willing to back down on something, it doesn't mean that they'll think, "Oh, I'm pushing too hard," they back down. It just means they'll push more. So the softer you are, and the more you let them get away with, the more they'll try and get away with, and the more they'll try and do, because they know they can. Because they know, oh, if I shout at him and he doesn't say anything back, or he doesn't leave or whatever, then now I'm going to shout at him and spit at him. And if I do that and he doesn't leave and he doesn't have a problem, then I'm going to shout at him, spit at him, and hit him. So it escalates, and they push those boundaries continuously. So the more you take early on, the more they'll just keep doing. So you have to go into relationships with having very firm boundaries that you have set.
Yes, Jared. You also mentioned earlier, like, it's always possible to get out of a toxic relationship, or you can free yourself from your abuser and start fresh again. Now, this is a beautiful thing that you've shared. When did this occur to you that you need to come out of this toxic relationship or from the abuse? You want freedom from this abuse. When did that strike in your mind? And when it really, came to your mind that, yes, I need to get out of this abusive relationship, like, then what did you do?
Um, my story is interesting, or a bit, maybe a bit different from other people, in the fact that I knew for a long time I needed to get out of it. And I went and I saw a lawyer about getting the divorce, maybe, but it's not quite as easy, because of the trauma bond and the hold they have over you. You'll say to them, I'm gonna go and get a divorce lawyer," and then they'll start changing their behavior slightly to trick you into thinking that they can change, and they hoover you back in, and you think, okay, it's going to be better. And if you have children, then it's even more difficult, because you think, "Oh, I have to stay for the children. I don't want the children to not have a father." Um, so it's very difficult. And in my case, I knew for a long time, for years and years and years, that I needed to get out and I needed to make a change. But I was scared, and I was worried about what would happen, and she would constantly tell me that if I tried to leave and try to get out, she would tell the police that I was an abuser. And obviously, as a big man, they'll believe her. And actually, the way I got out or started getting out was I got arrested because she attacked me and really, really physically, about 40, 45 minutes of hitting me, hitting me, hitting me, hitting me. And I didn't, I don't hit back. Um, and then I said, I've had enough. I'm calling the police. And I went to call the police, and she called the police. And she said, my husband's attacked me. And the police came and they arrested me because I was the man. And they took me to the police station. And at that point, I was really scared of getting arrested. I thought, I don't want to get arrested. I don't want to go to jail. I had a very good job in the corporate world. And when I got arrested, I kind of thought, well, I've been arrested now, and I'm still alive. You know, I'm not dead. So this is what I was scared of happening, and it's happened. So now I can get out. And I never went back after that. I never went back after being released by the police.
Thanks, Jared, for sharing that painful incident. What I want to ask you is like now today we have the modern technology. We have cameras where we can, fix in our rooms or in our homes, like to put it in the right way. So have you not thought like I have a camera which can capture what she's trying to do to me, or and I can have evidence. You see, it's all about evidence. I could just collect some evidence and get her reply in court for it, or put her in court, like, or
Yeah, it's
things
it's
clear.
difficult. I mean, I can only talk from the UK point of view, where I have lots of evidence,
Mhm.
lots of evidence, and lots of things, and I've taken it to court, and honestly, they didn't care. They
Mhm.
just weren't really interested because they don't consider it a criminal matter, they consider it a civil matter. And
Mhm.
so in civil court, they don't really care. Um, I managed to get a restraining order against her, so a non-molestation order it's called in the UK. Said she wasn't allowed to come anywhere near me, things like that. But yeah, in terms of you saying to them, I want them arrested or I want them, you know, getting in trouble for what they've done, they don't really care unless they think they can absolutely slam dunk case, and there's a lot of evidence. I'm not sure if you watch Netflix at all, but there's a documentary on Netflix that was from the UK called My Wife, My Abuser. And it was a guy here, Richard, who was abused in the UK for 20 years by his wife, badly. She would beat him, make him sleep on the floor, make him sleep outside. It was really horrible to him, scream, shout. And he had cameras in the house, and he filmed all of it, 20 years worth of evidence. And she did get arrested in the end, and she got sent to prison, and they gave her 4 years in prison. For 20 years of abuse, they gave her 4 years, and she served a year and a half and was released. So even after abusing someone for 20 years badly, because the law here doesn't look at women in the same way. They don't think men can be abused, so they don't treat it the same way as a man abusing a woman. So, even if they do get in trouble, it's not a lot of trouble. If it was the other way around and he had been abusing her badly for 20 years, he'd still be in jail and he'd be in jail for a long time.
Thank you for sharing the case study, Jared. Thank you so much. Now, if I may ask, if you allow me to ask this, I leave it entirely up to you.
Yep.
Like, were children involved? Do you have children, like, with your first wife?
Yeah, I do. I do. There are two small children
How
involved.
old were they? Like,
When I left, they were about 6 and 4 when I did get out.
are they connected to you now?
Yes, she tries very hard to make that not the case, but they are. I do still see them, but I did have to go through a lot of court and a lot of legal things to get to see my own children because she didn't want me to.
Thanks for sharing that, Jared. It's a very painful thing to ask itself. I feel it quite difficult. You're answering it from your end. You're reliving the experience when you keep sharing all of this, right? But
Yep,
anyway, you are creating awareness because in India, we recently had two tragedies. The reported ones, the non-reported ones are so many, many,
yep.
many. One is Atul Subhash, and recently we had another person who committed suicide, another man who committed suicide because of domestic violence at home. I mean, with his wife and in-laws or something like that. So I would like you to give a strong message. See, you are like a ray of hope for men around the world, for justice for men who suffer from domestic violence. What is your message to the Indian men who are suffering domestic violence at the hands of their wife or and their in-law and their in-laws?
Yeah, my message for everyone is the same: is it's hard, right? It's not easy. So don't think you're going to get out and it's going to be easy, but it's worth it. So put in the effort, take the time to figure out how to leave, learn about abuse that you understand it better, um, figure out an escape plan, get help, mental help. So go to a therapist or do some support counseling. You can join support groups. I mean, there's online support groups all over the world. You don't have to join one in India or England or whatever. You can join all over the world because it's online and find some support. People are more than welcome to reach out to me. I help men all the time go through these things. Just find someone who can support you. Find someone who can teach you about the things you need to know to get out. And the more help you have, the better. I did it with no help. I had no support network, no help whatsoever. So it was very, very, very hard. And it's always going to be hard. But the more help you have, the easier it can be for you.
That's great. That's great. You are doing a great job now. You are creating awareness for men. You are coaching them, you're guiding them in the right way. So can you tell me something about your present profession that you are into? Earlier you were in the corporate world, that I know. You are an author as well, but apart from that, you're working very hard to create awareness amongst all the male members who are suffering domestic violence at home. So present, what is your role and what is your connection to enhance awareness in the world with regard to domestic violence, particularly
Yep.
for men?
Yep. So this is my full time thing that I do. So I was, like I said, I was in the corporate world before for 20 something years. I was CEO of a international company, and when I've left that, so what I do now is I write books to educate people on the topic. So I write books around domestic abuse, false allegations, for men, about how it happens, they can learn, and I literally campaigned to try and raise awareness. So I have a YouTube channel. It's called Strong Men with Jared Whitaker, and that's all about raising awareness on these topics. I run workshops, online workshops, once a month where people can come and we discuss there's different topics depending on the workshop. I create courses around this kind of stuff. I do talks around it. I work with charities. I work with support organizations to help train people. So this is what I do. I mean, there's nothing else that I do. It's just this.
That's great. That's great. Now, you are also an author, right?
Yep.
So, when did this journey of writing down your life journey and, the different things connected with, domestic violence that men face, all of this, you've written various books. If you can just share all the names of those books that you've written, and actually, what is the main, the essence of the book like? It's connected with domestic violence, that I know, but I'd love to hear it from you. Over to you, Jared.
Yep. So actually, what I always wanted to do for work when I was younger, I always wanted to be an author. That's always what I wanted to be. And I actually went to university and I studied English and I was going to be an author. And then after university, I needed to get a job and I got a job in the corporate world and I just kind of never left. Kind of stayed. It was convenient. And over the last few years, after I got out of my abusive relationship and had been through court and all of that, I started thinking, when I went through everything, I had no help. Like I said, there was nothing for men, no one I could talk to, nothing for me to read. So I thought, I want to try and do something to make sure that other men have got something that they can read or learn from. So I started writing my first book, which is called Why Didn't You Just Leave Them? And it's, people say, oh, but why didn't you just leave them? It's so easy, just leave them. And it's not. And that book is about learning about domestic abuse, but also it's my story. Um, so that was my first book that I wrote. Then I wrote a book called Such Reckless Hate, which is 10 stories from other men about domestic abuse that they've endured. And again, it's so that people can read it and see that it happens to other people, and they can feel that they're not alone. I then wrote a book called The Indifference of Good Men, which is how to help someone in an abusive relationship. So if you're a family member or a friend or a colleague and you want to help someone, I then wrote a fiction book on the topic, actually, a story based on a man's journal of his relationship from when he meets his abusive partner all the way through to the end. And I wrote it that way so that people could see firsthand how it feels to someone. So how the character goes through, meeting someone, falling in love, thinking they're wonderful, and then getting abused. That one's called The Words We Never Heard. And then I wrote a book on false allegations. It's very, very, very rampant here in the UK, and I know in the US as well, where um, a woman will just say, "Oh, he abused me," or something because they want to get a one up in court, or they want to get more money out of them, or they want to have the children or something. So they lie and say that the man abused them. So I wrote a book on that. That's called Nothing But the Truth. And then I released a new book earlier this year called Misandry: The War on Men Uncovered, and it's a book for men and supporters of men to see all the things men are going through, like mental health crises. Men are falling behind in education across the world, things like that. So it's really about all those issues, domestic abuse against men, false allegations, falling behind in education and work. What they call the man up stigma, where if a man has a problem, they say, "Oh, man up." Don't talk about it, just tough it out. And it's the wrong thing. Everyone needs help and everyone needs to be able to talk and get support. So yeah, that's the books I've written so far for men. They're all available on Amazon, or my website has all the details of them as well. Yeah, but it's just guides to help people start learning, because the more you know, the easier it is to understand what you're dealing with and get away.
Thanks, Jared, for sharing that. Thank you very much. Now, Jared, what I'd like to ask you is I'd like to ask you about your childhood. What kind of a childhood did you have? Did you have a happy one, or did you face any childhood trauma? Because, see, certain parents, they get separated, or maybe they are abusive in front of us. One parent is getting abused by another. As a child, you witnessed it. I mean, in general, I'm saying we witness it, and then the cycle continues. So it's okay to be abused. Okay, mama shouted at dad, or dad shouted at mama, like something like that. So in certain families or with certain individuals, watching or experiencing trauma as kids, seeing their parents fighting, so when we grow as adults, we think, yeah, this is all common, it happens in the family. But then it's not right to fight in front of our children. So I would love, if you're comfortable, what kind of
Yeah,
a childhood did you have? If you'd love to share, you can share that.
yeah, no, normal. Nothing like that. My parents were married until they passed away. So I didn't, in terms of my childhood, from a family dynamic relationship, there was nothing like that. Um, so there was no witnessing anything like that I then repeated. I think from my childhood, what did contribute significantly to me ending up in this abusive relationship was I was very badly bullied at school. So my self-confidence and self-esteem was very, very low always. I've always had a very low opinion of myself and thought of myself as less. And that contributed a lot, made it easier for my abuser to hurt my self-esteem, control me, break me down, because I already had this broken self-esteem and no confidence and things like that. So it was very, very easy for them to do that because of how I was treated at school by the other kids I went to school with.
Thank you for opening up about that bullying, right? Just a second. It makes me emotional when somebody says they were bullied at school, because I have certain cases very close to, my close relatives who have been abused during their college days. So that
Mm.
makes me emotional. And I'm sure many of them will understand what bullying means when you are a student. Now, Jared, what I'd like to bring to your notice, I mean, what I'd like to get out of you now is like, if what did they bully you? Like, what was it? Was it for your height or your looks or the way you spoke? What was it that they bullied you for?
I don't know. What do you? I think whatever they could find all the time. So I was always quiet. I was always quite a shy kid. I'm autistic, so I have a bit different, ways I engage socially with people. I'm more quiet. I'm more reserved. I'm not involved with everyone. I'm not loud and part of the group. I kind of keep to myself. And I think just always, you know, from when I can remember, from being young at school, from maybe 6 or 7 years old, I can remember being bullied. So it was just always, and it just kind of, the school I went to, I was in the same. school all the way through my school life. From I started at 4 and I was there until 17. So it was the same people. So it just kept happening, kept going on, and it was, um, things they'd say. But I also got hit hit and pushed, and things thrown at me, and stuff stolen and stuff like that. So you know, it just kind of went on for years and years and years.
Yeah, I get that. I understand. Yeah, being
Yeah,
bullied for years, especially as a youngster, as a school student, or maybe in your play group or peer group, it's really very sad, right? It scars you for life. That's one thing,
yeah,
it takes a long time for one to come out of it.
yeah.
Thanks for thinking about that. Now,
No,
Jared, you were sharing something. I disturbed you. I mean, I interrupted. Would you like to share something more, please?
no, I was just going to say the only thing that I can say then is as we started getting older and we moved into, secondary school or high school, I was very small. That contributed to the fact that I'd get bullied. And only when I left school did I suddenly grow, and I grew lots. And now I'm big, but back then I wasn't. I was very small. So
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Jared, now we've been sharing all the sad moments of your life, like be it in school or, I mean, your connection with your first wife and the abuse that you've endured. I'd like to hear something good from you now. Could you share any happy experience that you've had till date, something which is unforgettable?
yeah, so look, after I got out of my abusive relationship, it was tough and it was hard. Like I said, it's not easy and it takes time. And I went to counseling and I had a therapist, and but I actually met someone new, and we started dating, and we are now engaged, and we have a little baby girl together. And it's actually a lovely, happy, healthy relationship where there's respect and boundaries, and it's so strange for me coming off the back of years and years and years and years of abuse and horribleness to now being in such a happy place where I'm happy. And again, this contributes to why I do what I do, because I was so unhappy and so close to nearly being dead. And now I'm so happy and have started a new life. And I never would have thought that was possible back then. But now, I want people to know you can move on and you can have a new life, no matter what age you are, because I'm in my 40s now, and, I've restarted, but I'm happy.
I'm happy for you too. That's really nice. That's great. So, this is a beautiful message for all people across the world, irrespective of gender. If you're not happy with your spouse or partner, separate peacefully or legally. I mean, just move out, give them space, and find somebody who really values you in their life. I'm really happy for you. You're in a happy space, and that should continue till your last breath. Be happy and stay connected. That's really nice. Now, Jared, what I'd like you to share about your journey still is like what you intend to do in future. Now see, you have done such a lot. You're sharing all your journey. It's not easy for anyone to share, and many of them won't come out and share. They
Yep.
rather keep quiet. They don't want the world to know what they have been through. You are so brave, like a warrior, sharing it. You just put it out there in the open. You're an open book. Now what is your what's there on your bucket list? What do you intend to do further? You're doing various podcasts. You're an author. You have shared all of that. What else would you love to do? We'd love to know.
Yeah, that's a good question. So for me, I mean, like I said, I do a lot of stuff online. I do a lot of online workshops and that. I actually want to move into doing more live events, start doing conferences, get people into the same room where you can really connect with each other. And I actually want to start doing that internationally. So going to different countries where, because there are countries, I mean, I'm in the UK, but countries like India, Spain, America, there's a big problem with male domestic abuse, and to go there and be able to help people in person, I think is a big thing I want to do. And something I would like to do in the future is set up a men's charity or support group, something where there's a helpline people can call in, because now people reach out to me all the time on social media and they'll say, I'm struggling, I need help, can you help me? And I'll get on a call like this with them, like a Zoom call, and I'll talk to them and help them, but there's no dedicated line that they can ring and help. So that's something I'd like to set up in the future, maybe a bit of a support group.
That's nice. That's really nice. I mean, people like you should come out and stand up, and be like, the torch bearers for
Yeah,
people who are suffering. I mean, you are at least able to voice out your pain and suffering. There are several men who have just crushed it within their hearts and just kept quiet, and they're
Yeah,
silently suffering. So I'm very proud of you, Jared, that you're really doing a great job by sharing your experiences and creating awareness. That's wonderful.
thank you.
Now, if you're invited to different countries to come over there and to take up a session, or to share your experiences again, and to make men come out, if you are in the right, come out, stand out, and speak out what you're going through and save yourself from further harm. So what do you have to say about it? Would you take up the chance of taking up the invitation, or
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'm already talking to some people that want me to come out to different places and do that. And I think it's good where someone can stand in front of you, because it's, online is good, but it's not as good as when you're with someone. And because let's say I go and give a talk at a conference, and maybe there's 200 men, and they can listen to me talk, but also when you go and have a coffee break, someone can come up to you and talk to you and say, oh, can you help me with this? And maybe they're too shy to ask or too shy to email you about, but because you're connected face to face and you're there, I think it would go a long way to helping a lot of people.
Very true, Jared. I would like to ask you a very sensitive question. Do you believe in the institution of marriage? Because you see, after we seeing such a lot of pain and suffering across the world, especially intimate partner violence, or domestic violence, or it's such a shame, irrespective of different things. Sometimes I have lost the hope in the institution of marriage, and I have two sons, and I'm really scared for them, like who they marry, what will happen. Like, after hearing your story and seeing different things, I'm really terribly scared as a mother for my sons.
Mhm.
Over to you, Jared.
Yeah, look, it's a hard question, because I think marriage isn't necessary for a relationship, but it's obviously desired. When you get to a certain stage of relationship, you want to be married, because it's, again, it doesn't really change anything, but it kind of cements, and you commit to each other. But with the way the world is now, it can be such a dangerous thing if you get married when you're not certain and you're not in a happy relationship. Like, if you're sitting on your wedding day thinking, I'm nervous because I don't know whether I should be doing this or not, don't do it. Um, it has to be 100% certain with 100% the right person. And I think the world nowadays is too, people meet, they get married quickly, and that's that. And, everyone nowadays, with social media and with the way the world is, they always want something new and something different. And I think there's nothing wrong with marriage. It's the way the world is and the way the law is around it. And the law needs to be different with how divorces work and things like that. But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with marriage itself. But I think if in my advice, I mean, I've got sons, and my advice to them is going to be, do not get married unless you are 1,000,000% sure, absolutely sure on every single aspect of it, from your relationship to the legal aspect to what could happen in the future if you do get divorced. Be 100,000,000% sure before you do that.
Yes. You see, it's like quite scary.
Yep.
Like, earlier we didn't have it. So earlier, like, there were lots of adjustment from both the spouses, like, earlier times. But
Yeah.
now, I mean, something's just like, there are no words. I am really stuck up for words. What
Yeah.
do I say? Because after hearing so many incidents, earlier we heard it only with women. Women endured it and
Yeah.
women suffered. And when men open up like this and say that we are also victims, and this is what happened to us, then that's quite shocking. Because
Yeah.
earlier we didn't have men coming out and sharing all of this. So I think you're doing a great job, Jared, like opening up. And I would love other men also to come up, speak up on any platforms. You're welcome even to the International Fab Talks to share your journey and to shame your abuser. It's time to shame our abusers. That's what I can say. No more abuse. The more you tolerate abuse, you're allowing your abuser, uh, you know, to take more advantage of you. Your
Yeah.
silence gives power to your abuser, right?
Yeah. I think it's very important, though, that we realize that abuse is the thing that's wrong.
Mhm.
So if a woman's abusing a man, it's wrong. If a man's abusing a woman, it's wrong. And we shouldn't get in each other's way, because a lot of woman activists that I know, they attack people like me because they say, "Oh, you're talking about men getting abused. It's taking away from women getting abused," and it's not. And the same way that if they talk about women getting abused, I know women get abused, and people who abuse women are wrong, and people who abuse men are wrong. But what we need to do is just get more men talking about it, because women do get more support, and there are more organizations for women to get support. So, abuse is what needs to end, and that's doesn't matter if gender. Abuse is wrong, and it needs to end.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks for sharing that. Would you like to share something else from your end, like focusing on men's mental health? Now, intimate partner violence, we've just shared that. You shared it from your end. Apart from that, toxic culture at the workplace and many other mental issues like that men face, low self-esteem. Even if they have a good family life, but they're not able to connect with outsiders, they may have a very beautiful family at home, but when they come out, they're unable to connect with other people so well, or get along in the society very well. So let's talk about in general with regard to men's mental health. What would you love to share from your end? Because you're a person focusing on men's mental health and wanting to
Yeah.
bring the best for men in their lives. Yes, dear.
Yeah, I think the world has changed a lot, where the world is different, but the way we as men think about the world is still the same. So we think, I'm the man, I must be the provider, I must look after the family, I must be the one to bring in the money, I mustn't ever complain about anything. I must always be quiet in my suffering. And the world has changed, but we still look at it that way, and it doesn't fit the way the modern world is. So we as men need to, for our own mental health, talk more, open up more, even if it's just to friends. Go and have a beer with your friend and talk about the fact that I'm having a hard time at work, my boss is horrible, or I'm struggling to do the work, or there's no shame in it. And I think men, we feel shame and embarrassment a lot if we can say there's a problem. And I think that is something we really need to break the stigma of, that we can just talk to someone and say, hey, you know what, this is happening to me. When I started writing my first book about my story of domestic abuse, the gym I train at, um, there's a lot of big weightlifting guys there, and I started talking to them about it, what I was doing, the book I was writing, and none of them laughed at me or anything like that. They all were like, wow. And so many of them, I think at least 10 of them, came to me and said, oh, this has happened to me as well, but I don't really like talking about it. So it's good that you're doing it, but I can't talk about it yet. So the more people who can talk, it opens up other people to be willing to talk. But there's no shame in being, struggling or having a hard time. Just talk to someone about it, or figure out a way to work with it. Don't just keep quiet, because it's just going to destroy your mental health.
Thanks for sharing that, Jared. What I'd like to ask you now is like, have you taken initiatives to connect with school students, college students? Because it's at that level you have to train those young minds not to endure abuse in any form from anyone. So I think from the school level itself, apart from education, the normal subjects and sports and crafts and games and all of that, music, the life skills have to be taught not to tolerate abuse in any form. It should start right from the school level, college level. Have you been visiting any school or college, or have they invited you, or do you intend to go and make create awareness with regard to don't suffer in silence, don't be a victim, be a warrior, raise your voice against all forms of abuse? I would love you to see you there, reaching out right from the grassroots level till the highest level.
Yep. So it actually is something I'm planning on doing this year, which is trying to get to visit older pupils at school, 16, 17, 18, and in universities, to talk to them about it. Because the problems with schools is they teach subjects, they teach maths, English, science, but they don't teach life skills. So the things you need to survive in the world and understand that's out there, they don't teach. So I would like to start going to schools and talking to the students, boys and girls, about domestic abuse, about what it means, the impact it can have on you, how it can destroy someone's life, and teach them up front that they don't have to learn the hard way like I did. You learn because it happens to you. So it'd be good to get people educated on it, so that they can see the signs, spot those red flags, maybe not get abused in the first place, instead of healing afterwards, learn to avoid it. So it is something actually that I do want to do this year, is start going to local schools first, and then branching out from there.
And I request all the school managements to give us a chance to reach out to them. Because many of them, they don't give us a chance, because we have lived through the experience when we want to share our experiences and create awareness. That's what many of the people on my platform have shared. We need to get a chance given by the managements of various educational institutions. So it's not only money and all of that, it's like, your emotional strength that you need, your emotional resilience as
Yeah.
a human being. Now, Jared, what I'd like to ask you is, like, amongst all the books that you've written, which one is very close to your heart?
Um, I have two favorites.
Mhm.
The first book I wrote, that Why Didn't You Just Leave Them, I really like because it was my first one and it's my story. And that book taught me a lot writing it because in writing it and having to go through everything in detail of what I went through and learn about it, it helped me heal a lot. It was quite cathartic and healing for me to write that book. Um, and the one I really, really like of my books is actually the fiction one I wrote, the Words We Never Heard, because I think you can learn about domestic abuse and you can learn about things like gaslighting and isolation and financial abuse. You can learn about all these things from a academic point of view. But that fiction book I wrote, because I wrote it as the man's journal, so you see his feelings and his thoughts and what it's doing to him, and it's very real. I wrote it very, very real, basing it a lot on my experiences and people I've interviewed. And I think that book really, really shows you what it's like to be in an abusive relationship, to understand what it feels like to have these things done to you. And I think that I really like that one.
That's great. That's really interesting. Jared, have you ever questioned life? Because you see, life is filled with such a lot of pain for most of us. I mean, maximum number of people on this planet suffer a lot. Sometimes I do question this to myself. Why am I born? Why is this life given to me? I don't need it because I face a lot of pain and suffering from the people I love. There are so many people like that around. Our own people, our children, our family members, our spouse, our siblings, all of them. So I always question, no, why did God give me this life or why am I ever born on this planet? I've been questioning that. Have you also questioned yourself like this? Why am I alive on this earth?
About a million times a day. I question that. Yeah, I think it's my life's been hard. I've had a lot of besides the abuse, I've had a lot of hard things happen, and I think sometimes you can look at it and you can think, is there any point? In the grand scheme of things, we're quite insignificant. Because if you look at the size of the universe and how many, the Earth's a few billion years old, and we're just this tiny little speck. Um, but I think it's about making the people around you happy and helping them have the best life that they can have, trying to give yourself the best life you can have. Because I think particularly as guys, we always try and make sure everyone else is okay, but maybe not ourselves. And I think that's all we can do. And sometimes it feels like it doesn't matter, but you have to do. You should do it anyway. You should do things no matter. I think what Gandhi said, everything you do will be insignificant, but it's very important you do it anyway. Um, that's how I kind of feel. I think I do the best I can. I try and give people around me a better life. I try to help people, and um, you know, whether you believe in heaven or anything like that that's going to come afterwards, even when you're here, just do the best you can, live the best life you can, enjoy it because it's your life. Try and have a nice, happy life. Try and give other people a happy life. Don't be a horrible person that makes people unhappy. Because we've all got problems. We don't need more people adding to them. So yeah, look, life is hard, and it's not. It's harder than it should be because the world is not right. And for me, that's what I'm trying to do is my contribution to making the world a little better. That's all I can do.
That's really nice. You say that this is your little contribution to make the world a better place. That's really great. And we appreciate your work. And I appreciate you for sharing your journey so well with us without hesitating. You've been sharing out almost everything. Now, Jared, what I'd like to ask you is, you see, most of the people, like when they face this type of abuse, they either go into any form of addiction, alcohol or drugs or something like that. So would you like to speak about that? Because many happy families have been broken because one of the partners are involved with or addicted to something, either addicted to alcohol or drugs or some other type of addiction. Would you like to speak about addiction from your end?
Yeah, I mean, it's 100% right that, people look for something to. I know I've got someone at the moment who I know in real life, and he's been going through a tough time with abuse and that, and he's turned to alcohol. And he's trying to drink to forget what's happening, but it doesn't help. Um, and I think the best advice I can give is find something positive to be addicted to. So for me, it was the gym, right? And I just threw myself into the gym afterwards and worked out lots, and I started doing competitions and things like that, because it gave me something to focus on positive, and it made me feel better about myself rather than, going out and drinking or doing drugs and getting addicted to something negative. Try and get addicted to something positive that's going to actually make you feel better and have a positive impact on your life, because you know, drinking and drugs aren't going to do that. They might help you in the short term, forget about things, but long term, they just do more damage. So, I understand why people do it, but I think if you can try and tell yourself to focus on something good, and if you're going to get addicted to something, make it a good thing.
That's great. Thank you so much, Jared, for sharing that. Towards the end, if I've left out any topic that you would love to discuss, I didn't touch upon that topic, you can share it from your end if you'd like to share something.
Sure.
Is there
Yep.
anything you'd love to share from your end?
Yeah. No, I think, like people are welcome to reach out to me on my social media. My website has all of my contact details, all of my social media details. It has details of all of my courses, all of my workshops, all of my speaking things, links to my books. But people can reach out to me directly. My email's on there. They can email me. They can contact me on social media. I'm always happy to talk to people and try and help, if I can. Obviously can't help everyone with maybe their particular problem, but sometimes it's nice just to have someone to talk to. So people are welcome to.
Oh, that's really great. I mean, my dear friends, we'll share all the details with regard to Sir's contact. I mean, all his contact details, his social media handles, we'll share in the description when we share this video, such that you can connect with him either online or offline. If you're in UK, you can connect with him, I guess, offline. And if you're in some other country or some other place, you can connect with him online. Don't hesitate to reach out to the right kind of people who are there to support you. You're not alone. All I would like to say is you're not alone. You have people who are ready to help you in the right way. Only you just need to come out of the box or come out of your shell and seek help. The world is beautiful. Thank you, Jared, for the
Yep.
lovely time I had with you. Thank you so much for sharing
No,
the journey.
no, thank you for having me on. I like to try and share as much as possible to show people that you can talk about it, and you can get better. Can get better for you, and you can get back to having a life that you should have.
Many, many thanks, Jared. Looking forward to many more interactions with you. And I'd love to keep up this bond of networking with you on the International Fab Talks. I would love to invite you again and again to speak on men's mental health,
Yeah,
and to
absolutely.
create awareness and to bring happiness and joy around the world.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Stay connected and stay blessed, Jared. God bless. Thank you. So, dear friends, we come to an end now to the International Fab Talks for today. Please do share this video with the right kind of people. You may save several men who are suffering in silence. You can reduce the pain and misery they are suffering by connecting them with the right kind of experts. So here we have Jared Whitaker, who is an expert in helping you if you're facing any domestic violence. You can connect with him. We'll share his details when we share this video. And of course, if you are afraid to open up and speak up, you can always send in a silent email. He may reach out to you and he can help you in any way. It's always good to seek help. With this, we'd like to sign off now from the International Fab Talks. If you like what the International Fab Talk team is doing, stay connected with us. Like, comment, subscribe, and share to the International Fab Talks. Don't forget to speak against any form of abuse, irrespective of gender. It's your time to live happily. It's only one life. Live it to the fullest. Don't allow anyone to take advantage of you. Nobody should devalue you or disrespect you without your permission. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.